So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the Watch Market Update Show. We are a public service watch announcement channel that we come here to tell you what's happening out there. Before I get into anything, you know what to do. You know what to give me a thumbs up and clap for me and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel, so the channel continue expanding out there and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Right, guys? All right. I want to tell all of you some good news. Saludos to you, Damon. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Today I have tremendous news and a lot of different topics. But this one, to us, is very important. We're talking about precious metal materials. And ladies and gentlemen, you won't believe this. Rhodium hit today $7,200 a troy ounce of rhodium, Palladium, ladies and gentlemen, palladium, because you guys always ask me for palladium. It hit another number today of $1,311. $1,311. Ladies and gentlemen, the poor man's, precious metal material. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, your hair's going to blow back and your socks are going to blow off, ladies and gentlemen. But today, silver, silver, the poor man's precious metal, hit a number of $47 a troy ounce. People are going bananas out there. People are banking in with silver, People are banking in with silver, ladies and gentlemen. Get it through your head. Silver right now, people are pumping. Boom, 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 boom. Pumping with silver, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe this. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this too, you're not going to believe me. But platinum today hit a number of $1,582. That's right. I'm telling you, silver, Mr. Donut. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, esto es una locura what's going on. This is crazy what's going on. This is crazy what's going on. You don't understand, because what I have today for you guys, I don't have too much time today because my wife today wants to be romantic, So I don't have too much time, so I'm going to rush with everything that I have to tell you, because she went out there to do, to buy something, you know how those ladies are. They like to shop, and spend my money, But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what's going out there is unbelievable, and you're not going to believe this, Platinum, I told you, 1582. Palladium, 1311. Rhodium, 7200. Silver, $47 a troy ounce, por Dios. Whoever bought that at $8, $7 a troy ounce, se está llenando la cabeza. The head is getting popped. But ladies and gentlemen, el macho, repeat after me, el macho is gold, pure gold. Ladies and gentlemen, it's at $3,776. Esto es una locura. What's happening out there is crazy. Oro, papi, oro. But let me explain to you something, ladies and gentlemen. Because we talk about everything here today. We talk about everything. But something big is happening in the world. Follow me again. Something big is happening in the world. When they start going, we want to call back all the admirals, all the generals in emergency. They're calling all the admirals. I don't know what an admiral is. They must have a lot of lines, over here. Admirals and admiral. I don't know how to say the word. You help me out. You know what I'm trying to say. Admiral and generals. They're calling them all in because something, ladies and gentlemen, I might sound funny, and I'm making it funny to you guys because we don't want to make it serious here. Because if I tell you in a very serious way, you're not going to be too happy. But something is happening, papi, behind doors right now. Something is happening big. Papi, the dollar today, a dollar buys you a penny. Papi, we don't know what's going on. I don't want to use these words because, yesterday I dropped too much knowledge. But again, we don't know if that, that button, the button, you don't know the button? It's called the reset. You know, the reset. You know, they've been talking about that button for some times. I'm already telling my wife that we're going to have to move into the shed of the house, hide in there, because something is happening. And she looks at me like I'm crazy. You know, my wife. My wife loves me and I love my wife. But I try telling her and she just goes like this to me. You know, I don't know. But I'm telling you, something is happening out there. I'm not trying to scare you. Maybe you guys can give me a lead time, and maybe you guys know something that's going on, Mr. Donut. You know what I'm saying? Pete, you know, Nelson from New Jersey, New York, you know, Dr. Yee. I don't know if I'm, you know, so many people that come here, you know, I don't know. Please tell me what you think is happening, what's going to happen. They're calling in, ladies and gentlemen. You have an admiral and a general in this side of the world and the other one on the side of the world, and they're saying, come over here. We need you right now. You know, we need you right now. Pero ¿cómo es esto? How are you going to leave your post? You know, your post, wherever you're at. You know, whether it's, you know, over there. You know what I'm trying. You know what I'm saying, Dr. E. You know what I'm saying, Dr. You know too much, Dr. E. Don't feel bad. Say it. Write it down, because if I say it, the thunder lightning will hit my TV tower. It will hit my TV tower. You know, what's happening out there. You know, I don't know. You saw what happened in Italy. They're all in strike in Italy, you know, with that Giorgia Molina, you know, Georgia, you know. Unbelievable. These people are unbelievable. I don't know if you know that Georgia, she hangs out with the granddaughter of Mussolini, you know. This is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't seen times like this never in your lives. And I am telling you, something big is happening. They're calling these admirals. Papi, these admirals are big, you know. They have so many lines, you know. You know, they're big people. And they say, come down, and the generals, we need to sit down because something is going to happen. We don't know what it is. We don't know if they're going to go over there and, you know, and do something to, you know, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, Boof. You know, El Boof, you know what I'm trying to say. Things are not right. Things are not right. And, you know, they say also that 2025, listen and learn, is the year of gold. You know? So we don't know what's going on. We don't, because papi, el peso está por el piso. The dollar buys you today a Bazooka Joe gum. A dollar today buys you a Bazooka Joe gum. Let me get some jungle juice because I'm getting nervous. You know, talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stronger one. This is, está duro. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're all kidding aside. There's something that's happening out there. And, you know, we have to all read between the lines. You know, look and look and look and look. You know, I'm going to go back again, you know, to, you know, that poor gentleman that passed away, that he got assassinated, you know, Mr. Charlie Kirk, you know, his wife. Too many distractions to get us busy, to look this way while they go there, you know what I'm saying? Or while they drop something over here, you know what I'm saying? Too much fentanyl. You don't know what's going on. Esto está virado al revés, upside down. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. We can only read between the lines and obey. You know? It can be, that's what it can be also, Dr. E. You know it. Read what Dr. E has put down. Read what he says. Papi, this is crazy what's going on, you know? It's unbelievable what's going on in the world. And it all comes into whatever business you're into, this big mammoth, you know, colossal. It all comes down to politics. Politics. And today is gonna be something special. We have a watch market update. We're gonna talk about politics. We're gonna talk about many things. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, amárresen bien. You know, tighten up that belt real tight. Porque lo que viene por ahí, papi, es serio. Es serio. I'm not here to tell you what it is, because I don't know. I just finished telling you, too many things are happening around the world. I know I might sound like a broken record, and I like to sound like a broken record because that'll penetrate your head. When they start calling admirals, am I saying the word right? Admirals? You know, admirals and generals. Generals. Which is bigger, the admiral or the general? Come on, somebody help me. Which is bigger, the general or the admiral? I don't think those are the two biggest ones there is, right? General, eso es increíble, eso es una jodienda, too many flying jets, you know what I'm trying to say, Nelson, help me out, It's incredible, too many portaavión, those big boats where the planes land, they're all over the place. So you have all these people, like the game that we used to play when we were kids, Battleship, You know what I'm saying? And they call them in. So something is going on and people are quiet. People don't, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, people continue to hop around through life like rabbits, and they don't even know what's exactly. It's very concerning. They don't even know what's going on, because these people are just moving around como sapos, You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. And let me tell you something, guys. Let me tell you, Admiral. So Admiral is the biggest one. Admiral is bigger than a general. Admiral is bigger than a general. Just give me yes or no. Well, man, to call those guys in. Those guys are the ones they're looking at the whole map. They're looking at everything, and then so that guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, he's saying, Condor, Condor, we need to see you. What is that? How can the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue say, come down? I need to see you right now. So we don't know if it's Venezuela. We don't know if it's Russia, Ukraine. We don't know if it's the same as a general. Thank you, Ghost. Thank you, Coño. I didn't even know that. Wow, so an admiral is the same as a general, but the admiral is in the Navy. That's why they're calling him up. They're in the ocean out there in the boats, up there, They're not like those people over there in Philadelphia. They're like this. And then they're giving people that fentanyl. They're giving fentanyl to all those people over there, keeping their minds busy. This is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening. I need to move on with the show because if I stay here, we'll be here for an hour. Something big. They're hiding it from us. And I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, before I leave this. Un poquito de agüita, para bajar un poquito esto. I'm going to be honest. Yo creo que puede ser la 3. 3. Too many things happening, papi. Too many. You know what that means? 3? You know what that means, right? La 3, it might be coming our way. Number 3 might be coming our way, papi. Enough of that. I mean, if you want to put down what you believe, I will read it. I will discuss it with you. We'll discuss it with you guys if you want me to. I will do that. But esto está feo. Como decía mi padre, like my father would say when he was alive, he would tell me, son, hijo, this is looking like the color, esto está luciendo como color de hormiga. In Spanish it sounds better than English, My father would say, esto está como color de hormiga. This is like ants color, like ants. Those ants, the red ones, they bite you, you scratch. My father would say, this is color de hormiga, color of ants. Hormiga brava. But ladies and gentlemen, we covered already gold, and we spoke about the admirals and exactly fire ants. Coño, that's the word, fire ants, My father will say this is like the color of fire ants, color de hormiga. May he be resting up there, unbelievable. But I told you guys a couple of months ago, we spoke about el maestro Dwight Eisenhower. And we spoke about, that Dwight Eisenhower spoke about before he left, the office of the president in Pennsylvania Avenue. He addressed the whole nation and he spoke about the military industrial complex. And he also said about the ICA. And I also told you guys a couple of months ago, if you're smart, you remember. And if I say something, wrong, please correct me. The farewell address. And he said to me, I'm going to tell you this, to me personally, He was the last president to president the United States of America. He was the last one. El último presidente que fue presidente de verdad. He wasn't a puppet. He wasn't such a puppet that he said things that day in his farewell speech that were too powerful. Too powerful, you know? We're talking about Dwight Eisenhower, you know? 5, you know, general, 5 estrellas, you know, una jodienda, you know? 5 stars, that general, you know? He gets me excited, you know, that Eisenhower, you know, es un hombre de, you know, a man of integrity, a man of, you know? And he said to the people, and I think it was January, you know, it was January 1961. Una jodienda de esa. Paco Gambino would tell me the story, and my father, they would sit me down and talk to me, you know. And we would drink coffee, you know. If Paco felt like drinking coffee, he drank coffee. If he felt a little bit bad, he would drink some tea, and he would tell me these stories, you know. But behind Dwight Eisenhower, behind the door, there was another young kid waiting to come in to the White House. Unbelievable, this kid, you know. Must have been, you know, young mind, you know, and he wanted to come in con coraje, you know, with a lot of direction, you know. You know, exactly. The last one, you know what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to tell you. If you listen, you'll learn. To me, Dwight Eisenhower was the last president to be president of the United States ever. That was it, the last one. So we had this kid coming in, and he was coming in 1961 as well. Yeah, I don't know. It was exchange, you know, that year, you know, 61. You know, Kennedy came in. You know, Kennedy, he came in with a lot of power, and he said many things. And one of the things that he said, ladies and gentlemen, you know, he gave this speech. And I'm going to give you today instructions to all of you that you need to see this speech, because you always hear me talking about BlackRock, the Bilderbergers, you know, JP Morgan. You always hear me, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you know, Bohemian Grove, secret society, right? But this motherfrogger, you know, John F. Kennedy, my respect to him. He came in blazing in April of 1961. April of 1961, bueno, me estoy recordando hoy. April of 1961, and he addressed in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. You know, he was addressing the press. He was coming in blazing. He was coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, I told you that the last president to be president in this country, I believe personally, his name, exactly, that's what it is, Dr. E. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, Dr. E. And this motherfrogger stood up there and he addressed the press. And he came out blazing. I'm talking about John F. Kennedy. You know, Dwight Eisenhower left and he was coming in. And he said there's a new sheriff in town. And he touched a subject that it was like, I'm sure that somebody had to talk to him. Listen, man, afloja. Don't talk about that subject. Leave it alone. You know, I'm leaving with dignity. I'm a general with 5 stars. I'm out of here. But kid, be quiet. But the kid didn't want to be quiet, and he wanted to address the press. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to knock your socks off and blow your hair back. You know what he addressed? He addressed secret society, skulls and bones. You know, the Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Bohemian Grove. Papi, listen to me. Listen to me, and then Google it, and then you go to your favorite channel, YouTube, and you look for it, and your hairs are going to stand up. What this man was dropping there, bro. What this man was dropping there was, you know what I'm trying to say. You know, you can't, this is why I'm telling you that the last president to be president of the United States of America was Dwight Eisenhower, and they let him talk about the ICA. He dropped the ICA, and then he dropped the military-industrial complex, and then he left. With dignity, he left. And he told all those Moshuganas sitting out there the truth and nothing but the truth. And they were like this. Look, you know how those people were in 1961? No lie. Like the fentanyl. like a statue, frozen, like Mr. D says, frozen. I don't know, I think Pete said the statue too. This is unbelievable, you know, unbelievable. So he left with dignity, and he left a young kid, and the young kid thought, I'm going to be the president. I'm going to tell the people out there, the press, what's messing up this world, the Bohemian Grove. Salute the owl. Salute the owl. You understand me? Skulls and bones. You know, you see this, when you see this video of what he said, we're totally live, John. We're totally live. And we're talking about John F. Kennedy. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you the punchline now. I'm going to give you, Paco Gambino told me this, and my father told me, ese live, that live that he did in the Waldorf Astoria in New York, you know, for the press to let them know that there was a new sheriff in town. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. That's what had him assassinated. That's what got him assassinated, man. This is just allegedly what I believe. Can anybody help me out? Because what that man dropped that day, people were sitting like this. What is this guy talking about secret society? What is he talking about this? What is he talking about that? You know, this is ruling the world, and the world is this, and the people that run the world, and the people that run this, the banking, and this, that. People were like this. They were like, you know, in shock when this guy was saying that. And then I believe, you know, one time later, you know, he went to Dallas over there, looking beautiful with his bride. And, you know, right there in the car, you know, they got him. So this is something that's like that. And this is why we have all these things that are happening. Look at that. $35 an ounce when Kennedy was alive. $35, the troy ounce, the price of gold. Mr. Donor just finished putting up there for you people to see. $35 a troy ounce when Kennedy was alive, Papi. Today we have $3,776. But you might be thinking why I'm saying this. And I'm going to tell you something else that I want you guys to know something. And it goes like this. You know, it goes, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. You understand that? Do you understand that? Should I read it one more time, or you understood me? And you know who said that? Mr. John F. Kennedy. You know, me riso todo, I get goosebumps. And this is why he got clipped. You know, he wanted to correct everything. I told you the word yesterday, correct. I told you the word yesterday, correct. And I think some of you still don't even know, remember when I said that. You know, you understood, right? Correct. Until you correct it. This is when I tell you those people, men in black, they come and see you and they give you the options and they correct you. This is how it is. And they corrected him. You know? Papi, that's a game that's very, very dark. You know, very, very dark. And you have to be very, very careful. I make it all fun for you. I would like to sit down with one of you on a one-on-one so we can talk. On a one-on-one. Then you'll see, you know, I won't be funny no more. You know what I'm saying? I won't be funny no more. You know, it's incredible. When somebody said something like that, there was somebody back there, you know, in the press, in the Waldorf Astoria, when they heard that, you know? You imagine somebody's telling you an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. Bobby, the owl, bro, the owl. And you see it there. And if you're thinking, well, the owl was back there too, of course it was there. So what happened is, what happened? Why didn't nobody tell him, or even his, I don't know, was John F. Kennedy's father still alive in 61? Can somebody help me? That's right. That's right, Dr. E. Was John F. Kennedy's father born? Because I believe John F. Kennedy's father had a lot to do. Exactly. The owl did not want to be corrected. He didn't want to be corrected. Papa, you know it, Mr. D. When you say something like that, you thought that what Dwight Eisenhower said is powerful. That's one of the biggest farewell speeches, if not the best one ever. You know, maybe Franklin, you know, when he threw the atomic bomb over there, you know, over there, you know what I'm saying? Well, I think it was Japan. I don't know, but you know, the farewell speech was powerful. But then this guy came in, and he started dropping names. And I spoke to you about that. You can't be dropping names, papi. Quédate callado. And if you're gonna drop something, you know, put it as a flower, as an orange, you know, as an apple, you know, something they can figure it out themselves. Because you'll get a thunder lightning in your TV tower. And you might be thinking, why are you saying this? Well, here I go now, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you that when I tell you this, yes, he did. He knew some very powerful people, Mr. Donor. Yes, he did. But I tell you that this, you know, this what I'm going to tell you. You're right, Dr. E. What I'm going to tell you today, if you write something and I don't get to see this because I'm concentrating on what I'm going to tell you, right, guys? So please don't get offended if I miss one of your comments. So we're going to be talking about somebody that I keep on telling you they're unbelievable. And we're going to be talking about today about these people. You know, the king of watches, they're unbelievable. You know, the king, look at this. The king of watches, they're unbelievable, papi. Son una jodienda. The king of watches is Rolex. And there's nobody like Rolex. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a very big tennis match. A big tennis match that happened. It was a big tennis match, and it was, I think, the US Open. And this match was the finals, you know, September the 7th of 2025. And somehow, some way, you know, that guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, you know, the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, you know, he went to the tennis match. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but the sponsors of that is the king of watches. You know, the king of watches, Rolex. They're the sponsors of the United States tennis, you know. And they, Mr. whatever his name is, the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, he requested that he wanted to go. And, you know, so they accommodated him and some of his, you know, entourage and Secret Service and all those people and all that, you know, they took him over there. It was a big game. It was Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner, you know, it was the finals of the match. And Trump was there with all his people. They were all there, and Rolex was over there hanging out and all that stuff. And you know, people get salty and bitter, you know, you know, and there was a person there. They call her a name, like, you know, they call her a funny name. I know her name, but I just forgot the funny name. You know what I'm saying? That they call her. So this lady with the funny name, you're not gonna believe this, ladies and gentlemen. You're not gonna believe. She wrote a letter. This happened September the 7th, the final tennis match. And Mr. Pennsylvania Avenue was there, you know, in a skybox watching the game. And now, in September 25th of 2025, this person sent a letter to Rolex. Listen and learn. I told you that the politics are involved in all this stuff. And I told you that Rolex is King Kong. And Rolex runs with the 5-star Admiral, with the 5-star General. They all run together. So that lady that has a funny name, that the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue calls her a funny name. You know who I'm talking about, yes or no? Exactamente, coño, ¿qué pasa, Nelson? Tú sabes lo que hay, papá. Nelson is a smart man. He's been, for the longest, he knew what I was talking about. That one right there, Nelson. Muy bien, Nelson. So that lady, she writes to Rolex. There you go, Nelson. Bravo, Nelson. And she writes. And she's bitter and salty. And she tells the people from the crown over there. So what's going on between you and that guy from Pennsylvania Avenue? Are you guys making arrangements to lower the tariffs and all this stuff. You know, the lady writes the letter. Her name is Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren. You know? Unbelievable. And she says to them, and all this stuff, and the people, these people are powerful, you know? That Pocahontas is unbelievable. You know, she wrote that letter, and she told them, what are you guys doing? You guys are doing tricks. You know, the tariff waiver and all that stuff. It's unbelievable, these people. These people are crazy, you know? And so this happened on the 7th. It was the final, and the lady came, you know, the last couple of days to write the letter. And Rolex, they're King Kong's. They wrote back to her, no, mami, tú estás equivocada. You're wrong. We're not doing nothing with him. We never talked about no tariffs. We didn't talk about nothing, and nothing this, and nothing that. You understand what I'm saying? You know, they said, no, we didn't do none of that stuff. We took him over there. We gave him a box seat over there with all his entourage. We gave him a jacket of Rolex, a hat of Rolex, you know, some gifts, you know, and we gave the Secret Service agents, we gave them Rolex hats. Papi, una jodienda. Listen to me, because some people, they had the guts to tell me, and laughing, you know, because I put the letter in my social media, because I don't play around. I don't. And the person wrote to me, that's an AI. AI, okay, AI. You know, you want to see AI. So they wrote this letter. The Rolex wrote the letter, and people still believe that was an AI letter. And I'm going to challenge all of you right now, just put down there, if Elizabeth Warren, you know, she's a political person, you know, did she write a letter to Rolex? And then Rolex write back to Elizabeth Warren a reply. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the letter right here. You're probably not going to be able to see it, you know? You're probably not going to be able to see it, but this is page 1 of that letter. This is page 1. You know, you Google it, and you're going to go, coño, how does this guy find it? It's not me. It's Joaquin. It's not me, you know? This is that page right there. If you take a Snapchat, you get it quickly. Boom, 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 boom. Right? And that's page number, that's the number 1. And this is number 2. Look who signs it there. Look who signs. This is Rolex answering back. Look how Rolex answers back to these people. You know, no playing around. Answer right back. Listen to me. Don't listen to me. Google it. I challenge anybody to Google and tell me, coño, it's right there. Did Elizabeth Warren write to Rolex? Did Rolex write to Elizabeth Warren? And let me tell you something. I have talked to you guys many times. And you guys should learn this by now already. Does Rolex answer to anybody? To nobody. But when it comes to politics, they don't play around. That's a different game. That's a different game. You know, that's what it is. You know, that's a different game. She wrote down, Pocahontas, what are you guys cheating amongst yourself? You're cheating with the tariffs, with this and this and that. Can you imagine what these people are attacking? Something that, you know, I don't want to get into no side, you know, no side. But this is what it is, and this is what happens when somebody from the political world, you know, writes a letter to Rolex. You got to answer back. And they're defending themselves in that letter. Rolex is defending themselves that there was no such thing. The only thing they was giving there was like a little jacket, a little hat, you know, the skybox, because these people are salty and bitter, you know, for whatever reason, you know, because I'm telling you something big is happening, you know, in the government. And Rolex wrote back, asustado, you know, like scared, you know, like, because you can't, you can't play with the government, you know. You got to answer quickly, you know, and you know what it is. Everybody's getting greased up, you know. Everybody's getting greased up. The middle finger, okay? So, you know, something that happened on September the 7th was the final. And then yesterday, I believe it was the 25th of September, is when all this broke out. If you want to find out about this letter, if you want to find out if it's AI, please be my guest. There's nothing AI about that, Papa. It was something that she thought that they were doing some kind of business under the table with the tariffs, you know. Tú sabes, you know, I'm sure that all these people get greased up, you know, from the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue to Pocahontas, you know, they all get greased up. But, you know, she went out there, you know, attacking, you know, the king of watches, because, you know, the king of watches es una jodienda, papi. Did you guys know about this? Did you guys know about this? Or again, you know, yes, it is. It's a real good. Inside trading is unbelievable. But did you guys know about this already? That's the question. Yeah, Julius from Miami know it. Nelson knows it. Nelson, did I say it quite well, or I said it kind of wrinkle and ugly? I said it kind of well, right? You know, that's what it is. But people, don't mess with the king, bro. You can't mess with the king. You cannot play with the king. You cannot play with the king. You can't play with the king. And people today, we have a lot of mashuganas out there, a lot of window lickers, lollipop suckers, crayon eaters, tomato cans, crumb bums, sandbags, possum kickers, cow tippers, that they're believing that that letter is an AI letter. Is that an AI letter? All of you that know about it, Julius, is that an AI letter? You know, imagine somebody, man, writing to you. You know, they say that, you know, they say that saludos, Mr. Blair, saludos, Mr. Blair. They say that when she yeah, exactly, AI letter this. When she received that letter, you know, she said, coño, because those people, I already told you who they hang out with. Those people, listen to me. Saludos, Alex. Saludos para ti, papá. Saludos, mijo. Have you heard these other watches that get this kind of attention? You know, Vacheron, Patek Philippe, Alma Piqué, Breguet, Richard Mille. You're not going to hear that, papi. Esos son unos zánganos. Esos son unos zánganos. Los más grandes, the biggest ones, que they're involved in that round table saluting the eagle, the owl, is Rolex, man. It's Rolex. Remember what I told you about the charity. The charity goes all around, you know, from Hans Wilsdorf, you know, the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. And it goes all around, and it goes right back to Rolex. And that's it. You know, Papi, you have to read between the lines to understand what they're doing. When, like I told you again, when you bravo, Julius, bravo. I'm telling you, you know, these people, listen, to sit. I don't know if you know this. In 1951, that gentleman, Dwight Eisenhower, he got in 1951 a Rolex Datejust, because, correct me if I'm wrong, correct? I like to be wrong. I want you guys to be right. I think in 51 there was no day still, so what they had was a Datejust, all gold, for Dwight Eisenhower. You understand me? Dwight Eisenhower, the first president of the United States of America to put on his wrist a Rolex, you know, Datejust, because in 51 there was no date. You know? I think it came right after that, it came in. But el primero que el presidente de este país, the first president to wear a Rolex, was Dwight Eisenhower. Google it. Google it. If you don't believe me. You know, if you don't believe me, you Google it. What I come here is to drop knowledge with all of you, ladies and gentlemen. You know, yo no vengo aquí a comer cativilla. La situación está jodida, and I told you, when the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, he called the admiral. Somebody showed me that the admiral is from the Navy, and then the general, I don't know where he's at, what platoon he's in. I don't know, but he's big too. So same thing as an admiral. He called them all in. You know, he called them all in because something, you know what I'm trying to say, the subway train jumper, you know? It's unbelievable, that subway train jumper, you know? Unbelievable. But I'm giving you this information so you understand how powerful the king of watches is, man. They never answer nobody when they were talking about them that, you know, watches are being produced in China and this and this and that. But they answer right away to Elizabeth Warren, the Pocahontas, because she wanted to know if the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue and Rolex were in cahoots, you know? Now, you ask yourself this, because, you know, don't ask me, because, you know, my answer is going to be violent, you know? If you ask me, I kept on telling you that Patek Philippe put a 15% and the rest are coming after them. But Rolex hasn't said a word. Rolex has been every 3 months pushing 3%, 3%, you know, like fentanyl. Estamos jodidos, papi. Estamos jodidos. I know what I'm trying to tell you, gentlemen. I know what I'm trying. It's all fixed. It's all fixed. It's all fixed, papi. It's all fixed. It's disgusting. You guys saw the letter that I showed you, right? Should I show you the letter one more time? Because I want you guys to see this, because some people are still saying out there that this is an AI letter. This is unbelievable, guys. Hey, ¿por qué no se ve? ¿Qué pasó ahí? Hey, what happened there? Hey, what's going on? I don't know what happened here. I think it's a thunder lightning. You know, I think it's a thunder lightning. Something happened. You know, thunder lightning. Those people are bad. You know? You understand? Elizabeth Warren, you know? This is the Elizabeth Warren letter, right? There it is. They gave up. You know? You have to see this letter. You have to read it. And the way that you, because I don't even know how to explain it to you, but the way Rolex wrote back to her was so much elegance, you know? With so much violin, you know, violin. Just beautiful, you know? Just beautiful there, and told her everything. No. It's not like that. It's not like that. But Rolex doesn't answer to nobody but the government. But the government. They're saluting the owl, you know? The owl. I told you what happened with the young kid in 1961 in April when he gave the secret society speech, you know, in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, you know, to the press. And after that, when he went to Dallas, because somebody said it correct, I think it was Damon. He said that the owl, and if he did write it, he'll put it down for you again. The owl did not want to be corrected. And I'm going to tell you something that John F. Kennedy said, you know, to the ones that weren't here. I'm going to repeat it to you guys. He said this the day of his speech. He said these words: an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. And like Mr. D said, you know, the people over there, you know, in the Bohemian Grove didn't want to be corrected, man. And he got corrected. Like I told you about yesterday about the guy, you know, Chappelle Dave, you know. They went to see him, you know, they told him his options. They told him how much he was going to make. They told him what they expected from him, what he had to do. And he couldn't believe who was telling him all that. And he ran to Africa. You don't believe me either? That's all right. You don't have to believe me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a watch market update so you guys can continue your night as I am going to continue my night. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, our first watch is a Patek Philippe. Stainless steel, 5990 with a gray dial. They got his mind correct, Nelson. They got it corrected. They got it correct. A 5990 with a gray dial, 40.5 millimeter casing. Retail price is 84,076. And I'm gonna tell all of you, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch. You know, it's a collector's choice, it's a collector's gray, it's a collector's dream, all that good stuff, you know? Cool Hand Luke, correct. Correct. Don't pay for that watch more than $93,000. You do whatever you want. I'm gonna give here a watch. It's an H Muser. You know, H Muser 40 millimeter streamliner, Vanta black. You know, with a red gold, Vanta black with a black dial, tourbillon, un aparato de reloj, an unbelievable watch. All kidding aside, the moose is loose. The moose is loose. The moose. You know, you're talking about a beast of a watch. I'm telling you, these people, if they can find a little hole, you know, to hang out with the king of watches, you know, but they're not gonna get that. Nobody's gonna. Where you see Rolex, nobody, and I mean nobody, would ever reach that. Get it through your head. No matter what they tell you that Rolex is a piece of junk, that there are better watches out there, better movements, better casings, better bracelets, all that stuff. They're the king of watches. That's all. That's all. You're in the desert and a camel and you ran out of money and you have a moose, you know, an H Muser and a Rolex. Which are they going to give you the money? They're going to give you the money to the Rolex, whether you want to believe it or not. It's what it is. The H Muser Streamliner Vanta Black. Reference number 6804/0400. Tourbillon. Unbelievable watch, ladies and gentlemen. Retail price of that watch is $136,000. $136,000. Tourbillon, un aparato, brother. You put that in your hand y te tiran las pantaletas cagadas. Te la tiran. Don't ask me what I said. You Google it. I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. It's a monster watch. No, it's a monster watch. But don't pay for that watch more. We're talking about used slider condition material watches in this channel. Use. Don't pay for that watch more than $86,000 and dropping, all right? You do whatever you want. It's your money. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain to you something today. The U25 should take advantage of what I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to be talking about a Rolex Yellow Gold GMT. Listen to this carefully so you can repeat it to your pals at work Monday morning. And you tell them who told you. It wasn't Sweet Kino, it's me. Today it's me. Kino's been for the last couple of days, you know, he's with a new girl and he's doing crazy things. I don't know, he's doing crazy things. So I'm taking all, you know, credit for all this. It is the Rolex GMT Jubilee, right? The Rolex Yellow Gold GMT Jubilee 40 millimeter. Bruce Wayne, black dial. This has a retail price of $44,600. You know, the 126718. And I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch more than, don't pay for it more than $38,500, right? Okay, you heard that, right? Now watch this now, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are going to bug out. Very well. Good, Mr. Donut. Good. Very good price you said there. I'm going to tell you this now. A Rolex Yellow Gold GMT 40 millimeter. Reference number 126718 GRNR has a retail price of $48,850. So listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this. That watch that I just said right now is the same one that I just finished telling you don't pay more than 38 and change. But that watch right there has a dial that is called the Iron tiger iron, some, tiger iron, something to that. And ladies and gentlemen, they're asking for that watch. Listen and learn, Bobby. They're asking for that watch in the Muppet Boiler Room secondary gray watch market. The eye of the tiger. Correct, Mr. Wicked. Correct, Mr. Donut. Listen to this. It's unbelievable. They're asking for that watch. Qué locura, brother. Qué locura. They're asking for that watch. They were asking $125,000 for that watch. And then quickly it kept on dropping and dropping and dropping. The moral of the story is that you're paying for that Tiger Iron dial. Did I say it right? Tiger Iron dial? You're paying over $60,000 for that dial. $60,000. $60,000 on top of what they're selling you the watch. It's una locura, right? Because I'm basing myself on the yellow gold that came out with the black dial, the blue swing. It's the same thing. Same thing. You just swap the dial. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? You swap the dial. What they do over there on 47th Street in the Diamond District. With the skin tight, man bun, Sinbad and the genie, over there, the subway train jumper, vacuum, you know what I'm saying? The 10 Commandments, over there on 47th Street. They do that. They swap it. Swap. And that's it. Swap. And the only way you know if that really came in, that watch came in with that dial, is if you have the white little tag. The little white hanging tag. Not the green hologram hanging tag. The white one. Lambón, Palomo. You understand me? But this is how it is. And ladies and gentlemen, I finished telling you the watch costs $48,000. ¿Cuánto es eso, Dios mío? $48,850. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. And I have to be honest, because I'm the lowest in the world. I'm going to be lowest than all those people. I'm going to be lower than Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, the Warris, Big Pun and Heavy D, the two Jehovah Witness brothers, the two toddler body brothers, the Hungry Hippo, Mr. Magoo. I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I feel disgusted telling you this, but I have to tell you the truth. Somebody got to tell you the truth. Don't pay for that watch, and I mean don't pay for that watch more than $87,000. What a crime. ¿Qué clase de crimen? ¿Qué crimen, Nelson? ¿Qué crimen, Mr. Dona? ¿Qué crimen? What a crime. Unbelievable, man, unbelievable. La obra que yo le regalo a ustedes. La obra que yo le regalo a ustedes. The job that I give you guys. The job that I give you guys for free. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go into a watch that a soccer player that he came from, he went to Spain, and then from Spain, he went to PSG, allá en Francia, in Paris. And then he came over here. He's a small little man. It's unbelievable. He won the World Cup and player of the whole championship by kicking in free kicks. You know who I'm talking about. Nothing special. But he's gotten every single AP watch, off catalog, in catalog, whatever you want to call it. He gets them all. And I'm going to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about a watch that it is unbelievable. We're talking about an Audemars Piguet Cold 1159, white gold with black ceramic. Unbelievable looking time machine, ladies and gentlemen. Over $230,000. It is the MSRP on that watch. It's tourbillon. It's un animal. The casing, because it has like a Velcro, thing, but the casing is white gold, and it's tourbillon, and it's chronograph, and it's ceramic, and white gold, and all that hoopla, And it was up there in that price of the retail over $225,000. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a self-winding flying tourbillon. It's unbelievable. Just in case you want to look it up, the reference number is the 263. It's an unbelievable watch. 99, the letters N as in Nancy, B as in boy. And 225,000, 240,000. This is disgusting, this watch. Disgusting. Over $300,000 in the gray tomato watch market up. You know, those people, you know? It's unbelievable. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you because I tell you the truth for you. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. Because I know that a lot of you out there are fans of the code 1159, you know? And that's all right. It's a beautiful watch. But don't pay for that watch. If I was you, don't pay more than $94,000. You do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a Rolex stainless steel GMT Batman. Old reference number. I repeat, old reference number, okay? We have a new reference number now. I'm going to give you the old. You know, this one has been, you know, put to rest, you know, like Secretariat, you know? You know, it's a dog with big fleas. You know it, but you know, it is what it is. You know what it is, Mr. Donut. You know how it is. The Batman, reference number 116710, N as in Nancy, R as in run. 40 millimeter, retail price is $98,000. Does anybody know what I'm going to turn out to pay for that watch? Anybody know? It's a dog with fleas now. Can you believe that? And everybody was going bananas giving for that watch $18,000, $17,000, $19,000. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, since you guys don't even know what that watch costs, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch more than $12,200 and dropping. You do whatever you want. This is the #1 watch market update show in the world, man. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, all kidding aside. If you think that with my 8,000 and change organic subscribers, I haven't rattled, dismantled, and shaken the Muppet Boiler Room secondary gray watch market, I got news for you. We have big time. We have big time. We have really, you know, put a mark. We put a stamp on all this already. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, they don't want to open the gates. They don't want to open the floods. Because remember, this is a public service watch announcement channel that brings only the truth. The truth. We talk about here about everything, papi. We talk about everything, you know? You know what I'm trying to tell you. You guys have to be smart. And if you have cash, you do whatever you want. If you have cash, papi, tú eres el papá. Tú eres el papá de Tarzán. You're the father of Tarzan if you have cash. Cash is king. That's what I got to tell you, you know? Exactly. We're making him, papi, you know? And you know what it is. You know, I have saved shekels, you know, euros. I don't know. I have saved a lot, you know? I have saved a lot. And they have made a lot. You know, but I stopped the bleeding. I stopped the bleeding, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you a watch that is sad because, you know, I have spoken about these watch models. The kids gave away everything they had because they thought that these watches were going to reach the numbers. These lambones, you know, estas cucarachas, these cockroaches they were promoting out there to these young college kids, you know. Pobrecito, they thought they were getting into Bitcoin and stuff like that. They thought that watches were Bitcoin. It's unbelievable. It's very sad, you know. This is the AP Royal Oak Stainless Steel White Dial Black Gauges, the real Panda. The AP Real Panda. White dial, you know, white dial with black gauges. You know, it's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. When I tell you this, you're going to go, coño, man. Eso fue un asalto. That was, you know, that was un asalto, mano armada. Stick him up. Okay, here. Eso fue, papi, le quitaron los dinero a la gente. They took money away from these poor souls. It was terrible. Today, they wish, they go like that, calling you, where's my money at? Papa, you gave it away. You gave it away. You gave it away to the Warriors. You gave it away to Boxing Black Eyes. His sidekick, Jiminy Cricket, with the Chia Pet spray can hair, you know? And Charlie Brown, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. You understand me? And Dora the Explorer. And the Mad Scientist. And they haven't made a video in 5 months, and suddenly they made one yesterday. Sweet Kick Kino reported to me they made one yesterday after 5 months. You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. So right. AP Royal Oak stainless steel white dial with black gauges. Reference number 26331, 41 millimeter. 2017, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, if you saw the people in those shows, esos malditos, esa cucaracha, esas gonorreas, correcto, Mr. Donut, correct. Esa cucaracha, esa gonorrea, infecciones de uña, infections of nails, were charging those kids $90, $95, $100,000 for that watch. Stainless steel. Te lo puedes meter por el poto, deep, por el poto. Papi, you have to thank me, man. You have to seriously thank me, man. And say, if it wasn't for that guy, bro, they had us, man. Let me tell you, somebody told me these wise words. They told me, listen, con el poquito, with the little that you have done, everybody has heard the truth. So there's no problem. That's what they told me. With the little that you have said, they've heard it already. They know it already. La gente no son pendejos. La gente no son pendejos ni gilipollas. Ladies and gentlemen, the 26331, the Panda from AP. Unbelievable. Retail price is $36,100. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want, papi. You still want to be a Panda man? Don't pay. That watch was at $95,000, $90,000, $85,000. And they kept on telling him, hold on to it. It's going to jump up all the way up there, all the way. You're going to have there $200,000. Pobrecito. En el orto. Penetrado. Penetrado para adentro, papi. Penetrado. Dead. And smelly. Dead. I'm telling you. You know it, Nelson. Don't pay for that watch more than $37,500. We got to say what it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I'm number one. I say like it is. That's all I got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe stainless steel Aquanaut 5167 40 millimeter with a black dial and black rubber. This is unbelievable. La gente no entiende. The people don't know that, people like our army, so I don't have to get into names, like our army, it's written on the wall. If you want to know if the prices of precious metal materials are going up, coño, for 2 days, yesterday and today, I've been giving you guys, I said it wrong, because if you go back to chapter 28, what I said in chapter 28, it'll blow anybody's head away. And they have told me, papi, whether it is or it isn't, what you said there was unbelievable. I'm being self-proclaimed. To be honest. Chapter 28. But yesterday and today, what I'm dropping is to let you know where precious metal materials are going. They're going to the moon. Papi, silver at $47 a troy ounce. Get the frog out of here. Dr. Evil, you have your personal gold man or precious metal man that takes care of you. Where do you think this is going to? This is going crazy, papi. This is going crazy. I'm telling you, listen to that, man. Wow, man. That's disgusting what he said. Disgusting in a good way. Wow. Papi, gold is going, but who said that? Who told you gold was going at 5,000? Who told you that? Come on. Who told you that? Right here, me. Who did this? Me. Who put this together? Me. You know who said those words? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this is going crazy. You know, the people over there in Fort Myers, in the west coast of Florida, papi, it's a desert. It's a desert. It's people there. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with all those houses they have there. How are they gonna sell houses to people that make $48,000 and the house costs $500? $500,000. Hay un dicho, there's an old saying that we say in Spanish. And if you're Spanish, you're gonna understand what I'm gonna say. ¿Con qué culo se sienta la cucaracha? Somebody translate that to English, please. One more time. Us Latin people have an old saying that when you don't have money, you say, ¿con qué culo se sienta la cucaracha? It's house real estate in Florida, papi, people are losing in every aspect. They're losing. When they're telling you that the admirals and the generals have to report back home, you know something big is happening, papi. You know something big is happening, and they won't tell you nothing. You don't take nobody out of their carrier ship, those Navy ships where the planes land. How do you call them? Portaavión. Those BlackRock is taking every single house. BlackRock and Blackstone are taking every house they can find. And they're aircraft carrier. Thank you, Mr. Donut. And they don't care. Papi. Se acabó el pan, papi. No, se acabó el tumbadito, macho. Se acabó el tumbadito, a trabajar de verdad, a romperse las nalgas. Se terminó, papi. They're calling them in to the round table. So which way are we going? Are we going to Venezuela? Are we going to Russia and Ukraine? Are we going to, because ladies and gentlemen, you cannot, talking about politics is very, very touchy, but you have the situation over there too in Israel, you have that situation over there too. It's too many things happening, and the dollar is just, papi, I told you that company over there from Geneva, the stocks went down to a 0.6. The big umbrella that has all the watch companies. Ya que se vayan pa'l carajo ya, leave, get out of here. Lock up the door and let's go. And then you got the other guy, the other old man, that I think he owns Louis Vuitton. Can anybody help me with that guy's name? The Louis Vuitton, and he's worth like $40 billion. They will not lower the rates. They won't lower the rates. They will not lower the rates. You got old people like Paco Gambino that was living in Hollywood, next to the Diplomat Hotel, has a nice apartment there from the 1960s. Bernard Arnold, he's mad, he's disgusted, he's saying bad things too, But Paco Gambino, they told him, Paco, you got to pay an assessment here in this building, $100,000 to fix the building that is decaying. And Paco Gambino said, I don't have $100,000. Well, get out. Poor little old man with a kangaroo hat, 5 feet 4 inches, 116 pounds. No coma mierda. Man, it sounded a little serious. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. It's not good what's happening out there. So these people are coming in. The admirals are coming in a private jet, and they're coming into Washington to talk to the guy over there, Talk to that guy over there to see how we're going to do this. And I'm going to be honest, guys. Something big is happening. Something big is happening. El país, the country cannot. Is anybody in this live stream out of the United States? Does anybody live overseas somewhere else? Or anybody lives in the United States here? Go ahead, 24, tell me yes. No. Things are bad. Let me tell you, you have over there in Italia, You had a strike. You had a strike. The Italians went against Georgia. You know, you see that? So I mean, it's not from here. Georgia, is basically, again, you can't be talking about that because it's not a good thing. But you have things happening in the world. A strike in Italia. Things are Turkey now. Okay, I am in Turkey. See that? So you know what I'm trying to say. You guys, when you're within Turkey or when you guys are in Europe or wherever you're from, you guys can see even better because you guys get real news from our country. You guys get real news over there. And something's gonna happen, and then everybody else has the little bomb too. You have that guy, Kim Jong. Kim Jong has one, the other one has one, everybody has one. This is crazy, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, the Patek Philippe stainless steel Aquanaut 5167 40 millimeter black dial, black rubber. Retail price is $29,895. Don't pay for that watch, and it still has meat in the bone. Don't pay more than $54,500. Listen, guys, you guys gotta get ready. You guys gotta get ready, and it's here, man. It's here. It's already here. If I tell you this, I can smell it. Lo puedo oler. I can smell it. I get a lot of announcements, and from people that I really believe in, and they're not telling me this is what it is. They're saying this is what it looks like it's happening. They have these things aligned up in a way. If you go to, I'm going to tell you this because I am from Puerto Rico. I said it wrong. My parents are from Puerto Rico. I was born in New York, but soy criado en Puerto Rico, de familia puertorriqueña. And in Arroyo, Puerto Rico, it's a city in Puerto Rico. Well, they had the troops, the United States troops coming in. Let me tell you, if you look into it, if you want to look into it, you're gonna go, wow. Arroyo, Puerto Rico, and they have all the tankers, four-wheelers going in because they're going a la base naval, to put them in there in how do you call that, in freights, in those flatbeds, put them in there, so right there there's something is happening, there's something is there happening. I'm coming out of character. Can you believe that? I even felt myself coming out. Something is happening for real because they're getting all these trucks getting prepared. They're getting all the strategy, el armamento, because Puerto Rico has a big base, la base Raimi, la base naval en Culebras, Vieques, so everybody everybody's getting ready, I wasn't supposed to tell you that about Puerto Rico, but I saw you guys. You're very interested in what you're hearing, and that's how things are moving around. Things are moving around, and as you can see, when you see that those precious metal materials are just going up, it's scary. Maybe it'll be there for 2 or 3 days, but maybe not. The first one that throws the first firecracker, that's it. The first one that throws the first firecracker, and I don't think nobody here right now is nobody's friend. There's nobody friend right now. Nobody. It's a free fall now. Let's go. And I honestly think that this guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, he's going to come out blazing. He's going to come out blazing, and I think he has a couple of people in his team there, and here and back here and everywhere, and again, that situation with Charlie Kirk, honestly, it did not help out whatsoever. Regardless of what I think, regardless of what you think, it did not help out either. You got the other guy too over there from Camila, what's her name? The Charlie, from England. There's too many things going on. Too many things. You have a big war amongst us. All of us, we're fighting each other. On top of that, before back, you have a war against the country. You will battle it out and you will finish it. But it's not like that no more. If you look at America, we're fighting against each other. If somebody says to you, if somebody tells you, how can I say this? I'm going to say this last thing so I can get out of this. If somebody says to you, listen, don't take this medicine because this medicine, it looks like it can give you cancer, right? It looks like it can give you cancer. If anybody knows where I'm going with this, jump in. You know, somebody tells you, this is somebody is telling the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue. He's not saying that. They're telling the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, hey, Pennsylvania Avenue, you know, since you're the president, let these people know that they keep on chewing on this can give you cancer. And then people come out and say, hey, you know, saying they're curing cancer, that's racist. You know, how can you say that saying curing cancer is racist? Come on, papi, no. Coño, ¿qué está pasando con el mundo? You know, again, I'm not into blue and I'm not into red. Es la misma mierda con diferente peste. The same shit with different smell. But don't tell me that you're going to say, because you're telling the people, I'm not even saying it. The person that I have working is telling me, tell these people, the world's upside down. Damon, you know what's going on. You know what's going on. So it's not normal the way we're living. Not normal. And let me tell you something. This is how all these people, and I'm going to say an example like Mr. Dr. Evil, this is how they become very wealthy when this happens. Chaos. Chaos. You know, chaos. The guy from over there, from Dubai, you know, the Iron Sheik tunic man, he's like this. You know, he's talking to whoever he talks to. We need another one. We need another one. This is going to save me. And that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. Lamentablemente esa es la verdad. Necesitamos un descojonamiento en el mundo para que esto se arregle. And if you don't understand what I say, you Google it, because this is how it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 2 more watches and I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Our next watch is a Vacheron Constantine Overseas Rose Gold of 4500V. War is money, Papa. You know it, Nelson. You know a lot, Papa. I can tell you know what's going on. I can tell. I think we're going to stop doing the watch market up and just keep on talking about this. But I'm telling you, Arroyo, Puerto Rico. Arroyo. There was, I remember the word. It's a convoy. There was a big convoy. And the people, the Puerto Ricans, because Arroyo, this is in el campo. This is in the country, you know, where all the chickens are at, the cows, the pigs, the horses, you know, they're there. So when the big trucks of the United States Armed Forces or Army, whatever you want to call it, were going by, it was just like, woof, woof. They were all standing like that. You can see the Puerto Rican's face, like, you know, what's going on, you know, what's happening, because, you know, when tú mueves, when you move this power, you know, when you move this power, they ain't frogging around. They're not frogging around. You know, to move all these monsters, what we have en Vieques, Puerto Rico, we have in Arroyo, we have en la base Raymond Aguadilla, move that. Panama, llama a Panama, que abre el canal. Open the canal. Bump, papi, you know, switch it, don't switch it. You know, like when they throw a thunder lightning to my TV, you know, antenna, I have to start all over the switches. Papi, they're going crazy with all the switches. You know? When I went deep with you guys, man, I gotta stop this. I'm getting too crazy, you know? Anyway, guys, I'm telling you, it's scary. Look into Arroyo, Puerto Rico. Los puertorriqueños estaban con así, mira. Because they know, the Puerto Ricans know when that base opens up, they're not opening up to play around. Canada is splitting up. The U.S. is about to get 5 new states. Oh, no. Respeto, papá. Those Puerto Ricans, when they seek it, they move those trucks. Okay, they've been sitting there for 3 years. They only turn them on. They hear where they turn them on and turn them off. That's what they do. And when they move them, it's for a reason. And this is why precious metal materials keep on going all the way to the moon. All the way to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. No se duerman en las pajas. Don't fall asleep in the hay. Do not fall asleep in the hay. And I'm going to tell all of you something too. You know, try to have in your house always $5,000 under a pillow. Cash. Under a pillow. That's all. And the attic, you know, the wood, the truss, you know, lo guarda. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Dr. E. I've been watching what you're writing down. I just don't know if they know about that, Dr. E. Dr. E, I've been watching what you've been writing, but I don't know if they know about that. Read what Dr. Evil just put down. It's coming. It's going. Papi, tú estás jodido. The Vacheron Constantin Blue Dial. Retail price is $60,500. You got to have it ready, papi. Put it away. Under a pillow. Put it on the pillow. You know, every once in a while, I take my wife and I turn her upside down. I shake her. She throws a lot of money out. I'm going to play. Don't pay for that watch. For the Vacheron Constantin, don't pay more than $42,500, right? You do whatever you want. It's your money. It's your money. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a watch that is a laughable watch because that guy, you know, the Iron Sheik Tunic man, has this watch. And I haven't seen this watch, to be honest, in a chat. You know, I haven't seen this watch in a chat or watch platform. Listen and learn, because this watch, you know, it's just funny. It's a funny watch, and it's even funnier the price they're asking for the watch. We're talking about the Richard Mille RM88. You know what the RM88 is? Does anybody know what the RM88? You know, 2 8s. Does anybody know what that watch is? The Richard Mille RM88. Well, that watch, the RM88 exactly. Yes, that watch is a smiley. You know, the movement inside the Richard Mille watch has a smiley face. You know, it has a smiley face. And it has McDonald, you know, Ronald McDonald colors, you know, STD, you know, those material, STP, TPT, NTDD, you know, all that stuff, you know. But it has, you know, it has the McDonald colors, you know, yellow, red, you know, all those colors. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, I'm not going to give you a watch market up in this on this watch. This is more of a funny. Do you know what they're asking for this watch? Anybody? Don't say $1 million because you're wrong. You're wrong. Don't say $1 million. How much do you think they're asking for this watch? And I saw it in a chat, and I said, "Oh my God!" And the person writes, "You know, you're absolutely right, Mr. Blair. You're there already. You're there." They're asking for that watch. Hay que ser un lambón. And you know, they made of the watch, you know, like around 50 pieces. 50 pieces. And you know that guy, Pharrell, you know, Pharrell, I think he has one. You know, those people, you know, they have one. And they're asking for the watch $3 million para una cosa que no tiene ningún tipo de valor. En la hora de la verdad, you know, in the hour of the truth, in the truth of the hour, you take out that watch y te meten 4 galletazos en la cara. Get out of here. You know, no tiene nada. You know, no tiene nada. So just to let you know where it's at. Guys, be smart what I'm telling you, man. Have a couple of dollars in your house away, you know, just in case an emergency. So you have some cash, you know, to move around quickly, because they're going to catch us all, you know, picking in our nose. They're going to catch us all picking in our nose. And at least these 19 that I have here so far, I'm not going to let them catch you picking your nose. I'm going to give you, you know, what I believe. You know, this is just what I believe allegedly, you know, allegedly. And it's not, well, you know, it's not allegedly because you have, you know, Dr. Evil writing things there that, you know, if you look at what he writes, that's one of the main things that's happening also in the country in America. All right, guys. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. It's been a lot of fun. I've been able to blow a lot of steam today. I've laughed very much with you guys. I hope you guys really appreciate what we're trying to do. You know, we're trying to mix up watches with other types of content so you guys don't get bored. You know, it's the best country in the world, but we're also one of the I'll leave it there. But we are the, you know, from all over the world, we are numero uno. You know, we're numero uno. Guys, have a beautiful Friday night. Be well, be safe. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and like I say always, like me and Sweet Kid Kino say always, take care and brush your hair. Good night, guys. Be good. Peace. I will. Thank you, Damon. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Be good.